All right, good morning to our first live Q&A with DBR Bookkeeping community, where we talk about bookkeeping things and give an opportunity for members of our community to ask me, professional bookkeeper, bookkeeping questions for their small business. This is a great opportunity. You just maybe like, hey, what do I do about this transaction? Or how do I pay this person? Or when is this deadline? Or all those little questions just kind of happen and come up when it comes talks about like just business and money and a lot of those type of things that you sometimes don't want to Google. Maybe a YouTube video isn't very clear about it. I invite all our members to come do this in the DBR booking community. Um, if you're curious about the DBR bookkeeping community, go ahead and click on the links that are along with this video, and and share it with people. This right now, it's a fairly new community, and I got a great promotional rate that's happening. So please be sure to check that out because it's totally worth your time, and your money for your business. So we are gonna get into it today. So first off, I'm gonna give a little presentation, and then we'll go into any questions that you might have in our community. Right. So welcome, Cindy. Hello. Good to have you here. So, um, so I have a list of kind of some compiled. Let me see if I can share this. Right. So these are just kind of like some 10 frequently asked questions about small business bookkeeping and financial management. Throughout every week, we'll be kind of tackling different aspects of bookkeeping, financial management. We might get more specific into a certain area. But I figured for this first one, we'll just talk about some of the most common questions I get with what I do for my business in bookkeeping, and a lot of questions I have just when I have coffee, when I do networking, when I present and give kind of like my 60-second pitch, and a lot of my content, kind of comes back to some of these basic questions. So, number one, why is bookkeeping important for my business? I think a lot of people understand that they should be tracking their money somehow. I think they understand that's important, but they don't understand what actually bookkeeping is. And so, bookkeeping is the actual process of tracking the expenses and income coming in and out of your business. It's actually tracking the movement of that money in its most basic terms. And it's not about just like looking at your bank account and going, cool, I have $1,000 in my bank account. That's not bookkeeping. Bookkeeping is actually looking at all your transactions and categorizing them and then seeing and breaking them down to see where you're spending your money, where your money is coming in, how often it's coming in, and determining what your margins are and having strategies to properly track loans, expenses, fixed expenses, track your COGS. These are all these fancy bookkeeping terms that are out there, but again, it's more than just looking at your finances. So I think go back to question one. I think when people ask why is bookkeeping important for your business, right? Well, once you actually do the bookkeeping and actually have good financial data, right? This can actually save you money, right? Save you money. Well, how does it save you money? Well, say your business, right, over the year, if you're just to track your income and only income, right, and you made $20,000 in your small little business, you just started your online community, you just started doing whatever, and you made $20,000. Well, when it kind of time for taxes, they're going to ask you how much was did you make and how much did you spend, right, for your business expenses. Well, you get the $20,000 is the easy number, right? We all could do that. But the tricky one is, well, how much did you spend? Well, you actually know your expenses. How much did you spend on your marketing, your advertising, your office supplies, your subscriptions, and all of that? Well, some of those expenses can get pretty high, maybe up to $15,000 of expenses over a year, right? Well, so you have your $20,000 minus your $15,000, which now goes to your bottom line, your net income of $5,000. And that's your taxable income. So, which means instead of the IRS calculating how much you owe against $20,000, they only calculate against $5,000. which therefore means you would owe a lot less in taxes compared to those two numbers. So that's why it's super important that we track these expenses because um, when you're an individual, just in a regular corporate world, W-2 employee, you can't write off these uh, little expenses in life. But in business, you can. So that's why it's important. It also brings you peace of mind. It also lets you know where you are on a weekly or monthly basis of where your finances are, if you're actually being profitable or not for your business. If you don't actually know these numbers, then you're just kind of just guessing, and we don't want to guess. We don't want to guess. So that's a big one. Another big question I get is, what is the difference between bookkeeping and accounting or a bookkeeper and a CPA? I get questions like, do I do taxes? So here's the reality. So bookkeeping, as we mentioned, is the process of actually managing those transactions. It's more of the detailed aspects. It might be some spreadsheets, you're using QuickBooks, you're looking at all these numbers. There's certain way of um, what we call accounting for these things, but it is not necessarily bigger picture or doing financial analysis or preparing for taxes. So that's what accounting is or what a CPA does. So in most simplest terms, bookkeeping is the more nitty-gritty in the details, looking at the each specific transaction, make sure it's getting categorized in the proper way, make sure it's getting organized in that way. But while accounting is much bigger picture, let's look at large numbers. Let's figure out taxes. What's your big profit? What's your big expenses in the big term? And staying compliant with that. So that's the big difference between what we do. For me, we focus on bookkeeping here. Now, both sides do touch each other, and we know a little bit about each other, but for the most part, most bookkeepers hate taxes and accounting. And on the opposite side, a lot of CPAs and accountants, they don't like the nitty-gritty bookkeeping. They want to look at bigger picture numbers. So the next question I get is, how often should I update my books? Uh, if you want to know your business and know how it's doing on a regular basis, I would recommend at least, every couple of weeks, no longer than a month. Because you want to know how much did you make any money last month. Some people only update their books once a year just for tax time. They go, okay, it's time for taxes. I need to update all this stuff so we know where we're at. Well, that's not necessarily the healthiest way because sometimes you might go through an entire year and go, oh my goodness, I never made money. I was running at a loss for the last 12 months. And that's not good either. So I would definitely recommend at least once a month. Uh, Here's one of the biggest things. This is like the one of the biggest rules for small business. You know, um, do you need a separate business bank account? Yes, you do. I cannot stress this enough. You want to keep business and personal finances separate. Please keep these separate. It makes bookkeeping easier, makes tax season easier, and actually, that's what you're supposed to do and be compliant with the IRS. Commingling of funds actually can get you into big hot water with the IRS. They do not like this. Think about the big, huge companies where you'll hear about these multi-millionaire CEOs who, are using thousands of millions of dollars for personal travel and things like that. And you hear all about the news and they get in trouble, right? Well, that's commingling of funds, but just at the very large macro level. Just don't do it. Open up a separate bank account and you'll be great. So then people are like, okay, so I've opened up my bank account, I have my business. What's the best way to actually track these expenses, right? If you have just a couple of expenses, literally you're just starting out, you can probably do fine with just a simple spreadsheet where you're tracking all your expenses, keeping your receipts in an organized folder, and then actually calculating and adding them all up while you go through time. But again, that's for very, very few transactions. There's great accounting software out there that can help you pull in automatically transactions from your bank and credit card, and you can easily categorize things and even set up rules so that every purchase from Walmart is your office supplies because that's what you always do. Or maybe you go to Hobby Lobby to buy some materials. That's always supplies and materials for your business. You can always have Hobby Lobby always be supplies and materials. And it makes it actually pretty easy. Excuse me. But there's a lot of different ways, and we talk about a lot of these techniques and strategies in the DBR bookkeeping community. So, what are the most common small business tax deductions? So here I'm gonna ask Cindy, one of my community members here, who's I knows a little bit about, you know, all this tax deductions. He's been taking some of these courses, and I'm gonna slightly put her on the spot and see
Huh?
how she does, right? But let's talk about, Cindy, what do you know as some common small business tax deductions?
Well, the biggest one is your travel, transportation, your mileage. That one is it. That's a huge one. It was really a lot of money. The government gives you quite an allotment for that. So tracking your mileage is very important. When you start out, and it goes from from if you have a home business like I have a home business. It's from my house to wherever I'm going, for business. But if you have an office, then obviously it's going to go from the office to wherever your business is. But your travel expenses are a big one. Um, I also understand that you can get some housing, if you have a home office. I haven't used that deduction, but I think that there is a deduction for that too. Uh,
Yes.
Dr. Ray might know more on that one.
Oh yeah, yeah, there is. Yeah, if you have a home office, and again, it actually has to be like a room. Oh, when you actually a room with dimensions, with four walls and a door, and actually room. That square footage can be calculated to figure out, well, how much do you pay in rent or mortgage, and they kind of break that down. So maybe an eighth of your home is in home office. Well, then you could take an eighth of your rent, an eighth of your utilities, an eighth
Oh, okay.
of
Utilities
everything
too.
can be actually be written off and tracked. Um, Another one is actually your phone bill too. Your phone bill can actually a lot of people use their phone for personal and business, right? And we calculate, well, some people like, well, I use like my phone like 75% time for business, right? And if that's so, then you can, make that calculation, go and put 75% of your phone bill every month and for the year as a deduction. So there's a lot of home office deductions that you can do. And then everything that's in that home office, the desk, the chair, the shelves, the all those
Oh,
things,
oh.
those all can be
If you had to purchase. So my computer, if I was buying myself a new computer, I that's a partial deduction
yeah, if it's for business,
if it's for business.
then
Yeah.
then it is. Which for most of us who have are doing home business, it is a business deduction. So
Okay.
really it's really coming back down to really thinking about, you know, is this thing that I'm buying for my business?
Mhm.
Is it related
Yeah.
to my business? Is it support my business? Some other common tax deductions that people forget is a lot of professional development. If you go take a
Oh.
course, if you get a certain type of license for your business, or you need a certain type of certificate that you have to go pay for to get for your business, all those things are all potential tax deductions for your business as well. Another common one that people ask is, what about food? Oh, yes.
I have a legal service. Would that be capable of being a write-off? Because I do have a legal service that I can
Yes.
call on.
Yep. Yes, you can. If you have any type of like retainer or a recurring legal service that is, could potentially helping you ask legal business questions or maybe review business documents, yes, that's totally
Oh, okay.
in there. Your insurance, type, and if you have business insurance, th those type of things can be written off. Big thing is also meals. People have asked about meals. If you can't not write off personal meals, but you can write off business meals. Say you meet with a client, say you're meeting with a business colleague, and you're discussing business. Over that, part of that can be actually tracked and used as a deduction. So just like there's like I said, there's a whole list. The IRS has a whole bunch of resources with that. Uh, but really, like, we want to talk about these tax deductions because it's so easy to forget. They're so easy to miss. Any other big tax deductions that you potentially thought of?
No, that covered quite a bit. It was pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. I did. We can probably talk a whole hour breaking down all the tax deductions. And
Well,
actually,
one
one of
last
my,
question on that. That would be also a CPA question. They probably could. give you a little bit more on that one as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would give you a little bit more on that,
Okay.
right? And they would probably just give you a list. They might clarify a couple of things. Um, Now remember, it is your responsibility to give them that number, right?
So,
This, like a CPA is going to ask you, how much did you spend on your kind of line items? Well, you just can't go, I don't know, or here. Right? They're going to look at you like, well, you need to do your homework and have this prepared for me. Now some CPAs will charge like, okay, I'll go through your receipts and bank statements, but sometimes that can be very costly and very expensive because CPA's time is much more expensive per hour than a bookkeeper's time. Just
yeah.
FYI, because they have higher certifications. So again, these are things that you could easily do again, and this is gonna also save you money by using tracking it yourself, than trying to hire, a CPA to do it because they're very expensive.
Yes, they are.
Next thing is seven. How do I manage cash flow effectively? So cash flow specifically is the actual movement of money and cash in your business. Now, if you're working on a very cash um, friendly business where you're doing cash transactions, like you sell the product, they buy it right there, there's no invoicing, there's no money being delayed, then it's pretty straightforward. But a lot of businesses, they invoice. So say like a cleaning service business, like, all right, I clean your place. I'm going to invoice my customer to pay me that money in 2 weeks. So yes, I made the revenue of $200 to clean that person's home, but I actually don't have $200 yet, right? So in cash flow, we want to actually manage the actual cash because some people think, oh, I made $200, so I can go spend this stuff. Well, you haven't actually don't have that money yet. Right? So you kind of we want to manage cash flow effectively. A couple things to manage that is to invoice quickly, right? Some people will do that cleaning service and then they don't send that invoice to the customer for a week. And then they tell that customer, "Oh, you have 2 more weeks after that to pay me." Well, now you're not getting that cash for 3 weeks or more. And that's affecting your cash flow because you can't buy things because you don't have cash yet, right? So invoice quickly. Another thing is to actually follow up on your invoices. If you're doing a lot of invoices and you're having a lot of business, it's really easy to go like, wait a minute, hey, did that person pay me or not? Oh, I don't remember. I don't know. And then you ask the customer, did you pay me for that cleaning job 4 weeks ago? And then they're like, I don't remember. I forgot. Right? We've all been there. We're like, I don't know if I paid that or not, or paid that bill. So that's why you as a business owner, it's your responsibility to kind of track that. It's not the customers necessarily to go whether they paid you or not, So you want to have a good, clean, fair system that you can track those invoices and actually make sure you're getting that money in a timely manner, right? Another way to manage your cash flow is to maybe spread out your expenses. If cash flow is really tight, you only get paid so much money per week. Maybe, separate, your credit card payment to maybe this subscription payment that are predictable and not have them on the same day, but maybe spread those things out so that you always have some type of cash to work with. Some business owners really struggle with that. A big one is payroll because payroll can really affect your cash flow. So there's a couple techniques, and we've talked about cash flow management and efficiency a lot in the DBR bookkeeping community. Next is, do I need to pay estimated taxes? Right? Um, Maybe. Here's the thing. If you are expecting to owe 1,000 or more in taxes for the year, the IRS says yes, you should be paying estimated quarterly taxes to avoid any IRS penalties. Right. So again, if you expect to owe, that doesn't mean you made $1,000 or more, you're expected to owe 1,000 or more in taxes, then you're expected to do that. And you can pay that directly through the IRS website, and they actually have worksheets that you can fill out that actually can figure out how much is your estimated taxes. So this is a great way to pay that money so that at the end of the year, when it comes time to do taxes, then you don't have this huge tax bill. And this is really important, especially for larger businesses. It can help manage your cash flow, or all type of things. But that's why it's important to be saving your money, because putting money aside for taxes so that you can pay these quarterly um, bills and tax obligations. I am a QuickBooks Pro advisor. I use QuickBooks every day for my clients, and they ask me, "Well, can QuickBooks do taxes for me?" Um, and while QuickBooks is super helpful, it does not file your taxes. You still need to review reports and file them with a CPA, or an actual tax software. That are out there. So again, QuickBooks is great. It can help you prepare for taxes, but you still have to go out and use another service to actually do the tax filings. Right? When is a good time to hire a bookkeeper? Um, this is a very interesting question because uh, everyone's different. Some people really love tracking their finances and like using QuickBooks on their own, and they feel a lot of value in that, and they like seeing their numbers. They like to touch the transactions, and they just enjoy that process of business. Um, with that, some people completely despise it. Some people really hate getting into spreadsheets, into the numbers. They just see all these receipts and they look at these profit and loss and balance sheets and these financial reports, and they just get overwhelmed by that. So, depending on your comfort level, what you can handle, kind of determines when you should hire a bookkeeper. But the biggest thing is that whenever you have that moment of like, I'm just feeling overwhelmed, and I just got too many things to do. As a small business owner, we have a lot of hats we have to wear. We have to do our bookkeeping, we have to do our sales, we have to do our marketing, we have to, provide the service, we have to do the product. If we have a team or of employees or contractors, we're managing them and making sure they're doing okay. And we have to post on our social media and all this stuff. Suddenly, you're having 10 to 12-hour days with your business. So another great option is to outsource and hire a bookkeeper to at least take some of that weight off. So why that you can focus more with your clients, you can focus more with your service and do the best job you can. And so instead of doing the tedious task of categorizing all these transactions, there's a lot of things that as a small business owner that we can outsource. And we always recommend, I always think I always recommend, outsource the things that you don't like to do first, right? Focus on your strengths so that you can do that. And then there's things that we all have to do. There's many things in business, and there's probably something in there that you don't like. That's where you should focus and outsource first. So that's when you should hire a bookkeeper. So again, these are like a lot of the common questions I get. These are some of the things that we've talked about with clients. And it's just super important that, that we talk about these things. What I have found is that we need to educate small business owners and entrepreneurs about financial management. A lot of it goes back to they just don't know. And I get it because our education system doesn't really teach it. If you go to college, unless you're really taking some business classes, you don't learn that. But a lot of people, they just get into a business because maybe they have learned a skill, maybe they have a passion that or a hobby that suddenly just becomes a small business because they start making money on it. And suddenly they go, wait a minute, I have no idea about bookkeeping or how to prepare for taxes or what do I got to do or not. And those are things we talk about in the DBR bookkeeping community of what should you do to prepare for taxes, what questions should you ask your CPA, what questions should you ask your bookkeeper, how do I prepare these things? Am I doing it right? Am I forgetting anything? Because it is overwhelming and there's a lot of different things. And we just want to make sure in the end for you to be successful. We want you to be successful. We want you to have confidence in what you're learning, and we want you to maximize how much you save with your taxes, right? Do not be giving the government extra money just because you didn't track your expenses properly, right? Let's make sure we track every expense possible so that we can lower that tax liability to as low as possible so that you keep as much money as you can for your business because it's hard. Small business is hard, and we want to maximize all our profits, especially when you're just starting out. When you're just starting out, there's no reason why you should be paying huge tax bills in your small business in that first year or two, especially if you've been spending a lot of money to get your business going for ads, marketing, development, professional development, all those type of things. All right, Cindy, do you have any kind of little questions or thoughts that you might have thought about um, before we wrap up?
I no, maybe you could cover a little bit on hiring, if that's a part of management, money
Yeah,
management, hiring and when is it the right time to have an employee and paying taxes or just a 1099 independent
yeah,
contractor?
yeah, for sure. According to the IRS and really the Department of Labor, there's a difference between an employee and an independent contractor. And a lot of businesses don't really understand the difference, right? Employees, these are people usually, again, consult IRS, consult CPA, consult the Department of Labor. But generally speaking, an employee is someone who has set hours, who has a certain job description, who is expected to do certain things at certain times uh, for the company and business. If you have somebody doing that, then that's an employee. And if you have an employee that does require more paperwork, that does require a few more things on the business end, that you have to pay payroll taxes, you have to do withholdings, you have to remit taxes to the government to with those withholdings and a lot of different things. There are payment processing companies that can help with all of that and make your job a lot easier. Trust me. Even some bookkeeping firms can help manage payroll with all, and make sure you're staying compliant. That's an area you do not want to mess around and be flaky about. So again, if you do have an employee that you think that hey, I want to hire this person to do 9 to 5, maybe 3 days a week, even if it's a part-time employee, it's considered let's get them onto a payroll and process that properly, having job descriptions and all that type of stuff. And then also determining whether to pay him a salary, whether to pay him an hourly rate, um, and all type of things. There's benefits that you can do with employees that can help both the employee and the business. Now, on the opposite end, an independent contractor, again, they are independent. This could be, say, a video editor who's helping with making your content. So that person does not necessarily have set hours. They don't have to necessarily be at a certain place to do, there's certain tasks or job descriptions. This is more like an outsource of like, hey, I have some videos. Can you do this? You pay that person a set amount, say $200 to do a couple video edits. And then after a few days, they come back, they give you that final product. And so all you have to do as an employer, or I guess as a small business owner, is to collect what we call is a W-9, which is just their basic information, a single form. Collect that, have that on file, and then track all their payments to that independent contractor for the year. And if you pay them more than $600 for the year, then it's your responsibility to file a 1099 NEC, non-employee compensation form, to the IRS and to them, and that's all you have to do. A lot of people like having contractors because it just makes things a lot easier. And if you're in a small business, this is probably the best way to quote hire and get some help with some tasks. You can also do this with a virtual assistant, say someone who's just helping with checking some emails or doing email marketing or running your social media. This is a contractor. Same thing with a bookkeeper. You can hire a bookkeeper as independent contractor, an independent entity that you can do bookkeeping tasks, and that's again, they're not part of your payroll, they're not part of and they're not an employee. They're independent and working like that. And then some businesses, they have a combination of both, where they have some people who are employees, full-time, part-time employees with certain responsibilities, tasks that need to be done. And then they might need to go, oh, I need to hire somebody to do some video editing on the side or these other special tasks that need to happen. It's very popular and common in construction, in type of a lot of the trades where they might have somebody come in to do certain things for part of a project, and then they just pay that contractor. So, kind of going back to that question is like, when do you hire? You want to have good cash flow. You want to make sure that you can afford it, and you want to look at, by hiring that person, how is that going to affect your bottom line? If spending $500 a month for a contractor to do something, are you going to make that or more through another thing? So, for example, sales, right? Some people will hire someone to do sales as an independent contractor. So that's a really easy way to go like, okay, I'm going to pay this person $500 or maybe a commission to do sales, but then that person brings in an additional $3,000 of revenue per month, then that's something to consider that would be worth it for your business. So that's why, sales positions are a very common, easy way to like, that person is directly affecting sales. Sometimes you can with content creation, social media, that can actually directly help with sales. For me, it's bookkeeping. I don't necessarily affect your bottom line, but say you as a business owner is the person who's doing sales. You're the one closing the deals, and you're the one who can really provide the best services or products for your customer. Well, your time is more valuable on a sales call than bookkeeping. Like, think about this. If you're doing a coaching or a large ticket um, uh, sales, right, and you're trying to get a $5,000 sale, well, you spending an hour with a potential client to potentially make $5,000 is way more valuable of your time than spending an hour working on bookkeeping, which, for me, I might charge, a couple $100 for that. So would you rather use your time to spend to make 5,000 or use that time that you can hire somebody to pay a couple $100 to do the exact same thing? So that's why where I provide value is that you can focus more on your income, right? I have a photographer client, right? She does wedding photography and she does high ticket wedding photography. So her time is way more valuable doing photography than it is to do bookkeeping. Her margins are so good that she can afford a bookkeeper, right? So again, we can talk about margins. That's why you want to be profitable. You want to be making money for your business so that you can grow and scale with your business and start hiring contractors, eventually employees, or a combination of both. So really popular, common question. And again, these are questions that we love to talk about in the DBR bookkeeping community. All right, I think that is it for today. Thank you again for checking this out, to checking out our training. A few things I'd like to ask of you is I do have a YouTube channel, DBR Bookkeeping. Go ahead and subscribe. We do have put some of our content that we share of our trainings, of some of our resources out there. Go check that out and subscribe. Again, you can join the DBR bookkeeping community and have a resource that you can talk to other small businesses, to have direct access to me, be part of live calls to ask your questions. I also do QuickBooks online demonstrations where we'll be looking at how to do things in QuickBooks. Maybe if you have questions about QuickBooks and just need someone to say, hey, how do you make that invoice? Hey, how do I refund this? How do I do this and account for this in QuickBooks? Um, that's all part of in the DBR community. And right now I'm doing an annual rate where you can get all of these resources for a relatively low price. And if you're really struggling with financial management and you just need some skills, it's a great way to learn it. And really, what I'm trying to do is just try to save you money so that you know the skills that you can probably lower your tax liability and potentially save you 5, 10 plus $1,000 in taxes just by good, effective, legal, compliant bookkeeping. This is a really valuable skill that you can have and you should know for your small business to literally save you thousands of dollars and also have the information to know when to hire, when to grow, when to scale, when to expand. When you have the financial numbers, you know when you can do that instead of just guessing. So go check out the DVR Bookkeeping community, or you can find me online at dvrbookkeeping.com. All right, I'm Dr. Brian Rea, DVR Bookkeeping, doing business right, and I'll see you next time.